Good morning, good morning, good morning. Buenos dias, mi gente yo-yo. Welcome to Daily Discipline number 446. My name's Rob Hoback. Happy that you're here. Honored and humbled that you keep coming back like for reals. Hey, it's a Sunday fun day, but it's also a work day because I got things to do. I'm sure you do too, so let's do this. First things first, I'm still the realist. I'm also thoughtful. I was thinking about this morning. It's a blessing and a curse. The people that know me the best are like, oh, man, that's what I love about you, Rob. You're so thoughtful and you think about other people. But here's the problem. When you're sensitive and you're thoughtful, then you're sensitive and you're thoughtful. And when other people don't behave the same, which most people do not behave the same way, you find yourself getting hurt. Your feelings hurt. You're upset, right? And so I try to think things through and I try to behave in a fashion the way I would want to be treated. But here's the realization that I've come to, right? And this works for me. Is that I am in the process of leveling up to where I say, okay, I've got history with this person, and they clearly don't give a shit about what I think, right, or how I feel. They're going to do whatever they got to do. And so, then protect yourself, right? Or as my sister Jen said, pick up your mat and go someplace else. You don't have to put up with that shit forever. So anyway, while I'm thoughtful, I'm also cognizant of the fact that sometimes I shouldn't. Like, I'm only being a martyr. I'm putting myself in a situation for me to get upset again because sometimes other people are just very selfish. Deal with it, right? I want to move on. All right. So, yeah, because it usually ends in disappointment. And, again, most people aren't going to behave the same way. My thank yous go out to, Sissy. We had lunch yesterday on her birthday. Thanks to all of you who reached out. She had a great day, at least for what I could see. We spent a couple hours yesterday together for lunch. She wanted to go to the Olive Garden. There's not one here in town, so we drove 45 minutes to go have a 45-minute lunch and drive 45 minutes back. But it's just fun being with her, right? She's such a sweet little girl, and I tell her all the time about how I'm just proud of her, and I'm thankful that I'm her dad. And I mean that. So, all right, so briefly, we're going to run that back for the first week of the year, RTB number 1, right? And we're just going to go back to the first and talk about some of the things that we've talked about in the first 5 days of the year. Number 1 is you got to have a plan, right? You got to have a success system. And so that's going to be different for everybody. My personal advice, whether you want it or not, is that you need to consume as much information as you can about other people who've been successful and then customize that to yourself. So there's customization, there's imitation, there's learning, there's all kinds of things. But if you don't have a plan, you're going to end up you're going to enable somebody else's dream. You're not going to live yours, right? And I know this because I spent the first 48 years of my life, 47 years and change, not really having a plan, just saying, all right, I'm going to show up. This seems like it's okay. And then I end up getting upset because I'm like, well, why am I doing this? How did I end up here? Because I didn't have a plan, right? Because I had to accept what other people gave me or allowed me to do because I was living on their terms, not mine, right? So that's why our word of the year is freedom, right? We got to have a plan to get to freedom. So, the success system begin with the end in mind, right? We talked about that day one. Aeneas Williams, right? Like if you know what you want to be when you grow up or when you die, what you want people to say about it, you better start doing that every single day and leave a path, right? Like you've got to, you got to let people know, right? Because otherwise they're going to make their own assumptions. We got to be realistic about it, right? Now, we can have stretch goals, right? But here's the problem. If we have an unrealistic goal, right, then we're going to get upset because we're not going to hit that unrealistic goal. So I'll give you an example. I was talking to my boy Harry about this, is that I still struggle. I was talking about Precious about this yesterday too. I talk about this all the time, right? Is that I lived the first up until a year and a half ago, not really a plan. I certainly didn't do anything to control my emotions. I just rode the wave. I thought it was everybody else's problem. And then when you see other people struggling to control their emotions and see how destructive that is, that's hard to watch, right? And it was hard for me to admit that I was undisciplined when I first. Am I perfect? No, I got I told Precious this yesterday. I'm like, man, don't you think that there are times I get up and I record daily discipline? I'm usually done by, 7, 8 o'clock, usually by 7 during the week, 8 or 9 on the weekends. And then, it's just like life it's one gut punch, one in the crotch, a slap in the face. And then you're just like, you know what? I've had enough, right? Like we're going to go internal, right? And we're just going to what's the word I'm looking for? We take a step back, right? We're like, yeah, I'm good. So anyway, it's an everyday battle, right? But we have to be realistic about it. Again, for me to think that if just because I became aware of the fact that I was undisciplined with my emotions, that was immediately going to change was unrealistic, right? I never had that. Like, I understand that it's a growth thing and that, discipline or muscle, it's just like anything else. We have to do it repeatedly to master it. And I'm nowhere close, right? So yeah, just keeping it realistic. The other thing about a plan is, every success thing that you read talks about, you gotta have a plan that's written. The more specific it is, the better off you're going to be. But here's the thing is we also have to remember that with a plan, when we're trying to better our life, failure is part of the process, right? And so we may have this perfectly well-defined, success plan, and then something happens like, oh my God, is that ruined? Blah, blah. Right. That's how it goes. You're going to have to refine it. So with that, we're done. I think we're done with success system, right? Like I've said what I need to say. Like we got to begin with the end in mind. It's got to be documented. We need to have some accountability there. We need to customize it. We need to refine it constantly. It just needs to become like a Bible to us. And so I wanted to talk briefly about football, right? So yesterday morning I said that I was going to pick, the Texans at home over the Bills because I didn't trust the Bills. They're young, right? And that game was way closer than I thought it was going to be. And all I can say is that if they were stock available in football, you should buy Buffalo Bills stock and sell your Texans stock, right? I'm convinced of this, that Bill O'Brien, by all accounts, is he's a great dad. A lot of people enjoy being around him, but he's not a great coach. He's not innovative, right? Like the Texans won in spite of his coaching or his staff's coaching. And they are just way too reliant on special plays and specially talented guys, which they have a lot, for them to just outperform and do something special. They're not going to out-scheme anybody. And, man, Buffalo was really close. And there were two big calls in that game. One was when Buffalo kicked the ball off and the guy, he didn't down it or anything. He just threw it over the ref. That was a bad call. That should have been a touchdown for the Buffalo Bills. And then there was they call the crackback block, which the guys on ESPN, when I was watching, I'm like, that's not a crack. He's looking right at the guy. Two terrible calls that probably took points off the board. So the Texans win, right? This is the thing of the regression to the mean and mediocre, right? You've got a mediocre coaching staff with some extraordinary talent that is surviving right now, but they're not going far. The other thing, the Patriots, right? We predicted this, right? And I'm not saying that, there were so many people yesterday that were hedging their bet. They're like, oh my God, I just don't think that they can win and blah, 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 but I have to. Okay, so now we don't have to do that anymore, right? Tom Brady is a human being just like the rest of us. He cannot do it by himself. There's a lack of talent around him offensively, and he's in his 40s. And so I'm saying it here. I've been saying it for a while. I think he's done. I think he's done in New England. I think he's going to go play someplace else because he wants to continue to play. And guys like him, Brett Favre, Joe Montana, and Peyton Manning, they want to continue to play. If they've still got something in the tank, they're like, look, man, I'm not going to walk away. And they understand, everything dies, right? Even a relationship, a 20-year run in New England, I believe is over. I think Tom Brady's going to move on. We'll see him play a year or two someplace else. It'll be weird at first, but I hope he goes someplace big that's ready to go, like, or Los Angeles Chargers. Can you imagine that with that team, right? Instead of goofball Phillip Rivers. But anyway, yeah. And so as far as, do I think that the Titans, I don't know what they're going to do, man. That's a tough, aggressive football team that their running back, man, that guy is something else. He's huge. So anyway, I could talk about football all day, but we've got to wind this up. So yeah. And then today, I just don't see the Vikings going in and beating the Saints. And I like the Seahawks to go in and beat Philly on the road. So I'll take the Seahawks and I'll take the Saints today. And we'll be back tomorrow on a Manic Monday. Deuces. Love you. Bye.